I can tell you that we have a active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that. But they have till tomorrow. Now, we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out.
Okay, so the deadline is just that. It's a prod, okay? And if it's not going to happen, what is the space and what do we need to be aware of that's at play here? Former Mideast peace negotiator Aaron David Miller, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Wesley Clark, and former political prisoner in Iran and NYU International Relations professor Kian Tajbakhsh. Good to have each and all. General, I respect and appreciate the distinction you draw in what kind of infrastructure places might be targeted. It happens to hew very closely to the line between acceptable act of war and war crime. But putting aside whether or not you get prosecuted for what you do, if you don't want to blow everything up and leave the people in a desperate state there in Iran, what are the options on the table for the U.S. military in terms of what they could do to put pressure on the regime?
Well, I think you certainly can continue the air campaign. Now, the problem is it's difficult to generate targets. Okay, fine. You have to adapt to that. You've got to put staring reconnaissance in the air over those missile cities that are buried 500 meters underground. You've got to get underwater reconnaissance in the Strait of Hormuz. You've got to start taking out the cruise missiles and the sea-skimming missiles that are buried in caves along the coastline, both inside the strait and outside the strait. You've got to be patient. You've got to have different technology. You've got to wait and keep the pressure on. There are indications that there is some disintegration of the regular Iranian. There is a problem of getting weapons in there to the people who want to fight because the Kurds did block it. But you're only 5-6 weeks in. It took me 11 weeks in 1999 to persuade Milosevic that he was going to lose. And that's where you are right now. They still think they're winning. Now, in order to move beyond the air campaign, you've got to be able to get naval gunfire support in closer. That means you've got to take out the area denial anti-access system there. And that's the missiles that are shooting at our ships and carriers and so forth, not only in the Gulf, but outside the Gulf. And it's just a matter of patience. So this might be a 4-week, 6-week, 6-month problem. And it's not exactly predictable. So could we live with that? Or you could try to rush it and put ground troops in. Now, I'm not in favor of that because I think I know pretty much what's there. And I can see that you can certainly land troops on any one of these islands and you could have a firefight and you might seize the island temporarily. But can you sustain the troop presence there without casualties? And what does one island give you? And so if you think taking Karg is a great bargaining chip, maybe, but it seems to me that this is a regime that's not into bargaining. They think they're winning, and they can put a lot of resources against us if we're on the ground in Karg. So my counsel militarily is take out what's legal to take out, continue the air campaign, be patient, keep the pressure on, work with resistance groups, designate a provisional government to go in and replace, and you just got to be patient in working this and get the world side. So you got to stop attacking allies, and you got to build allies.
But, okay, let's leave the last piece to the side because I don't even think that that's in this president's emotional vocabulary right now in terms of what he wants to do. But what you're saying here, General, is all dependent on time, and rightly so. The problem is, Aaron, the president is the one who keeps abbreviating the timeline. Couple weeks, couple weeks, couple weeks. So the idea of 4, 6, 8 months, he's never even mentioned anything like that. He hasn't even had anybody else mention anything like that. Is that the move, though? Is that the move, that you don't blow everything up in 24 hours, but you pretend that there's someone who wants to talk to you over there? I don't understand who's negotiating in good faith when the president wrote that horrible letter last week right after he was called a better guy, and they just had the guy on TV saying we'll never accept a ceasefire. So I don't know who they're negotiating with, but there's certainly mixed signals. Is this the time for the president to say, all right, we're going in deep?
I don't know, Chris. I mean, I defer to Kian. I'm not an Iran analyst, and I don't play one on television. But if you look at, and maybe Wes Clark's right. Maybe if you kept at this week after week after week, and by June or July, as we approach summer driving season, we're talking about oil, which could go up as far as high as $175 a barrel, perhaps even more. We haven't factored in the Houthis yet. Saudis are exporting 5 million barrels a day through their east-west pipeline into the Red Sea, Yanbo, shutting down the Bab el-Mandeb, which the Houthis are capable of doing, creating a double choke point. So now we approach the summer driving season here. What is extraordinary to me, having been a part of so many different administrations, there doesn't appear, Chris, to be any constraint on the president. The allies aren't constraints. In fact, he finds them contemptuous. He's undermining NATO every chance he gets. He owns the Republican Party. There's very little opposition there. The Democrats are at sea. They don't have enough votes to override a presidential veto on war powers. The public will get his chance to express his views, but that won't be till November. I don't see massive demonstrations in the streets. There aren't going to be no King's rallies over gas prices, at least yet. There are no constraints. And as the president said, this is why it's so hard to have the conversation. I mean, Wes Clark is brilliant. Kian is too, but it's very hard to have the conversation because you have an idiosyncratic president who said to the New York Times in the wake of the Maduro Operation Venezuela, the only constraint I have, and I quote, is the morality of my own mind. He is the decision maker. He is the conceptualizer. He is the strategist. And that's why it's very, very difficult to reach any sort of consensus. I just don't see his saying one and done. We've won. There isn't a constituency in this country that he cares about that would do anything other than breathe a collective sigh of relief. If the president tomorrow said the war is over, we've won, and the Iranians complied and opened up the straits. Maybe Lindsey Graham, but he's not going to get blowback. The Democrats will give him a foreign policy establishment, will criticize him, but he's not going to do that because he's angry and he wants to humiliate.
Well, look, I'll talk about more of that in the next segment, because I believe the Democrats will let them have it because they can't wait to get back home. They can't wait for the fight to get back home. This is their opportunity to win the midterms. Not what people think about what he did in Iran. It's already baked in. It's going to be who's got better for the American people on Fix America First. But I'll deal with that next. Kian, somebody said something to me today. It's not my idea, but it's a good one. The proposition here that we have to weigh is, does the president worry and value the optics for him more than he does anything that looks bad about him for what happens to the Iranian people? Because that's the big X factor here is, what happens if he leaves? To Aaron's point, we're all happy here if he leaves, except for a couple of hawks that nobody cares about. Yeah, except for the Iranian people. And how big is that stain? If America leaves after saying we got your back, you know that regime is going to punish its own people. Was doing it before this, let alone what happens after it. How big a factor is that, Kian? Let's end on that.
I think it's going to be a huge factor, unfortunately. I think what's already happening, we're already seeing a lot of Iranians who are now worried, not only just simply because of the optics, because as I mentioned before, what they're looking at right now is obviously a military operation that is much harder than the American military expected it to be, or at least announced that to the public. A new problem, which no one really anticipated, which was the issue of the Hormuz Straits. And what they're looking at is a future where the Iranians are going to have to live with exactly the same regime, with a regime which actually has, in the respect of the Hormuz Straits, an astonishingly new leverage to control and their neighbors and also to get revenue. And then the fear that any of the kind of dual use infrastructure that has been hit, even if there is military necessity, is still going to impact negatively. You know, there have been reports that 70% of steel production inside Iran has been destroyed. And, you know, steel, it's true, they can make missiles from it, but we have a huge and very successful, actually, container, food processing container industry inside Iran, which provides a lot of these tins which preserve foods, and they do that and they export that to the region actually in a very good way. They make those tins out of that factory too. The petrochemical center that was hit, that's true. A lot of that diesel and a lot of those chemicals are used for ballistic missiles. But the fact is, a lot of plastics, a lot of hydrocarbons that are used in indigenous industries inside Iran, just for everyday foodstuffs, are going to be affected too. So what I fear is, given a lot of confused messaging, or at least ordinary people hearing, for example, it is a puzzle why the American military is blowing up a bridge in North Tehran while it's sitting there in the Gulf, letting Iranian tankers export their oil to China and get a lot of revenue. People understand that, of course, it's a constraint having to do with the international oil markets. But essentially what it means is, if President Trump is so constrained by the price of a gasoline at the pump, and he's actually signaled, as you mentioned, I mean, in Tehran, Chris, when they hear President Trump say, you know, we're going to be out within 3 or 4 weeks, the response of the regime is, oh, we just got to hunker down for another 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll just ride it out. So it doesn't look good. And in the future, the stain you mentioned, Chris, is it's going to be a proof that what the regime said, which is that actually, the United States only wanted your oil. They gave you false promises. Many people were killed. You should never listen to them in the future. And there's going to be a critical number of people in the middle of that population who were optimistic, who were not going to be optimistic in the future.
Gentlemen, thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping the audience understand. We got more. Go ahead, General.
Look, if the United States pulls back and doesn't get the Strait of Hormuz open, our allies in the Gulf can't accept living under Iranian control of that strait.
Right.
So our whole economy, our whole position in the world for 50 years has been built on the protection of the global oil and energy market, starting with what happens in the Persian Gulf. So if we pull back, you can expect serious repercussions on the American economy, on the value of the dollar, and on American credibility and deterrence globally.
Yeah, you're not wrong, General. The problem is that we created the problem, and now we own it, and we don't know how to get out of it. And that's why Aaron keeps saying, I don't see how we get out of this. Not because he's stupid, but because we've never seen anything like this in the modern era, because usually you're thinking what will happen before you make something happen. General, thank you. Aaron, thank you. Kian, all of us, to be continued. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.